study the answers again and again till I get it right. We're doing the bone dance, you dance and you learn it, and we won't mess up this test. We'll get it perfect. Word!
If you couldn't tell from that cute little intro, we're still talking about the bones chapter. This is my personal favorite chapter to learn about, and whenever it comes to anatomy and physiology. And I just want to use this video to give you guys as many tricks as I can in this short amount of time to help you be able to better distinguish between the different types of bones we have. So when I was studying the bones in the bones chapter last year, it was very helpful for me to create a mnemonic or an acronym or really any type of analogy based off of the name of the bones. They are a really great way to help me memorize, as well as to just make it a little bit more fun, because the bone chapter is fun and I want you guys to have fun. So let's get to it. The first bone that I want to give you guys a better understanding of is our frontal bone. The frontal bone is pretty simple to understand. That is the bone located up front. So whenever I look at it on my own body, I see my forehead, I think frontal bone, forehead, or five head if you're like me. So next we have our parietal bones. The parietal bones come in pairs. What I did to help me remember the location of the parietal bones is I think parietal, panic. Now, why panic? Because usually whenever you're looking at like a cartoon or something and somebody is panicking, they look like this. They're like grabbing onto their hair, and this is where your parietal bones are essentially located. Next, we have our temporal bones. So our temporal bones are also paired just like our parietal bones. So how can I remember where the temporal bone is? Well, whenever I think temporal, I hear tempo. So let's say you're like a musician and you are trying to play an instrument and you are trying to play that instrument on beat. So what do you need to do to be able to stay on beat? You need to hear the rhythm. And this is essentially where your temporal bones are. They're like right above your ears. So you need to hear that tempo so that you can stay on beat to play that instrument. Temporal bones. Next, we have our occipital bone. Our occipital bone is located behind our head. So whenever I'm thinking about this one, I think O, because occipital starts with an O. And whenever you look at the occipital, it's kind of round, not really like a perfect circle, but like it's essentially the round one at the back of my head. And that is how I remembered it personally. Now I want to talk to you about your ethmoid bone. So the ethmoid bone, honestly, I figured out through process of elimination. Once you've gone through all your mnemonic devices for the rest of the cranial bones, the only one that's left is your ethmoid bone. And where it's located, as you know, it's inside the head. I can't really point to the ethmoid bone, but like, yes, that one I figured out through process of elimination. So a lot of people tend to get the radius and the ulna confused. So the trick that I used to be able to distinguish between the two is by saying my radius is rad, with thumbs up specifically, because your radius is located on the lateral side of your body, and that is also the side of your thumb. So my radius is rad, thumbs up to the radius, and that leaves your ulna for the other side. Radius, ulna. So your carpals are the bones that are located in your wrist, as you know. So the mnemonic that I use to be able to help distinguish between them is by holding my hand up and moving my thumb in the direction as to where they would be locating in their wrist. Now, obviously, the wrist bones are in your wrist. They're not up here, but I can't exactly bend my thumb down here, so we will be doing it this way. So the mnemonic that I used to help me remember the carpal bones is by saying so long to pinky, here comes the thumb. So is obviously your scaphoid bone, starts with an S. Long for lunate, to triquetrum, and then you've got pinky, which is represented by your pisiform bone. Then for the next row, you have here, which is your hamate bone, comes capitate, the trapezoid, and then thumb is your trapezium. So your trapezoid and trapezium carpals are very easy to confuse between the two. So what I usually say to help me keep those two straight is my trapezoid is filling the void between my hamate and trapezium. want to talk to you guys about your tibia and fibula. These are probably the two most popular bones to be confused. So what I usually say in my head to help me distinguish between the tibia and fibula is by saying my fibula is fragile. Not only do they both start with an F, but it's technically true. Our fibula is the non-weight bearing bone that is sitting on the lateral side next to our tibia. So if it is non-weight bearing, why would it be non-weight bearing? Because it's too skinny. It cannot support our body weight. So because of that, our fibula is fragile. Now I want to finish off by talking to you guys about your tarsal bones. So those are the bones that are found inside your ankle, as you know from this past week. So the mnemonic that I used and many UTAs taught me last year to use to help me distinguish between the tarsal bones is by saying tiger cubs need milk. And milk is spelled with a C for a very specific reason. Our talus bone is represented by the tiger. The cubs represent our calcaneus, or our heel bone. Need, the N in need, stands for our navicular bone. The M, I, and L in milk stand for our medial, intermediate, and lateral cuneiform bones. And then the reason why milk is spelled with a C at the end now is because that stands for our cuboid bone, which is more lateral than our lateral cuneiform. That is it. Those are the bones that I kind of wanted to give you as many tricks as I could for. Those I felt like were the most confusing at first. But the more you practice and practice and practice studying, pointing out the bones, naming them and their markings, the more you practice this chapter, it'll be a breeze. This is my favorite chapter, so I really hope this video was helpful to you guys, and I wish you the best of luck.